The number of miners killed in an underground explosion on Saturday has risen to over 100. Rescuers are working in freezing conditions to reach miners believed trapped by the blast in the Xingxing mine near the border with Russia. This is the deadliest blast to hit China's coal industry in nearly 2 years. Over 500 people were working in the mine at the time of the explosion at around 2:30 a.m. on Saturday. A gunman who killed at least 4 people and wounded 9 others in a shooting rampage on the Pacific island of Saipan on Friday has been identified. According to an Associated Press report, the shooter, Li Zhongren, was a 42-year-old Chinese citizen. The shooting spree at a popular tourist site claimed the lives of 2 men, a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl, all of them locals. 8 South Korean tourists and a 4-year-old local girl were wounded before Li killed himself. Li was an employee at a shooting range, according to local media reports. Saipan is the main island of the US Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. China Longyuan Power Group, China's biggest wind power producer, may raise as much as $2.3 billion in a Hong Kong initial public offering. That's according to Bloomberg News, which says the renewable energy provider plans to sell over 2 billion shares at between 81 cents and $1.05 apiece. The top end of that range values the Beijing-based company, which is selling a 30% stake in the IPO at around $7.5 billion US. China Longyuan is a subsidiary of state-controlled electricity producer China Guodi. It's the mainland's first developer of wind farms and accounts for 24% of the country's wind power capacity. China, the world's biggest producer of greenhouse gases, burns coal to produce 80% of its electricity and wants at least 15% of the nation's energy to come from renewable sources by 2020. A Hong Kong businessman spent $350,000 on a glove worn by Michael Jackson the very first time he performed the moonwalk. The white glove, encrusted with rhinestones, was among 70 items belonging to the late singer, which were auctioned off in New York. Hoffman Miles' final bid was 9 times the estimated price, including taxes and fees. The total cost was $420,000. Miles bought the glove on behalf of a hotel in Macau, where it will now go on display. A jacket worn by Jackson on his 1989 Bad Tour was sold for $225,000, while a fedora hat went for $22,000. A Chinese lawmaker has proposed holding officials who use public funds on lavish banquets legally accountable. Zhao Linzhong, a deputy at China's top legislature, says engagements with excessive eating and drinking undermine government work and social morals. He also says the health of some officials and entrepreneurs has been affected by such practices. It's common in China to treat important guests to banquets or drinking parties. Sometimes business deals are sealed at these events or political favours sought. Zhao blamed social traditions in part, but added that the lack of supervision and legal loopholes also play a role. Coca-Cola, the world's largest soft drinks company, is planning to more than double the number of its bottling plants in China over the coming decade. The move is part of the group's aim to triple the size of its sales to the country's rapidly emerging middle class. Coca-Cola says it expects 60% of its new growth to come from China, India and other emerging markets, with only 15% from developed markets. The Atlanta-based company's plans to expand in China are a central part of its push to double global revenues and those of its bottlers from almost $100 billion now to $200 billion over the next 10 years. And that's the BON headlines for now, but we'll be back with more news after this.